Well, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us on this, the 8th day of January 2020. My name is Diana Rachel. We have a lot lined up for you, including calls to have the IEBC dissolved by a section of leaders. But we'll be bringing you that and much more. But first, the headlines. Once again, welcome to the broadcast. My name is Diana Rachel. Mbugua. Our sign language interpreter for tonight is Joyce Wairimo. Now, the IEBC has angrily reacted to calls by CIS Senator and lawyer James Orengo, who wants the commission dissolved as part of the BBI recommendations. Now, the commission says it will not agree to be used as a punchbag for political mileage by a section of politicians.
The Electoral Management Body is usually considered the fall guy, with the losing team calling for disbandment of the commission. The Isaac Hassan-led commission was disbanded after the contested 2013 elections. Before it, the Samuel Kevuitu-led Electoral Commission was bundled out of office for allegedly bungling the 2007 general elections. And now calls for disbandment of the commission have started emerging, with the BBI task force recommending for dissolution of the commission, an issue that the commission has not been taking with a light touch. Among the leading proponents of the disbandment proposal is Senator James Orengo, who in a statement claimed that the commission is a criminal enterprise. However, the commission has come back fighting, saying that the claims by the senator that the commission can be disbanded at will are disrespectful and an abuse to the Constitution. The commission said that the senator was a product of the same process which he was trying to disparage, and if he felt that the commission was a criminal, he would start by resigning as a senator. The commission said that elections were a process and not a cycle, and they were working around the clock to ensure that the 2022 general elections were a success. This statement, sent from the Office of Communication Affairs, expressed optimism that they will receive funding from government early enough to avoid last-minute rush that often resulted in inflated cost of goods and services, legal tussles, and vendor wars. In a press conference on Monday, Senator Orengo called for disbandment of the IEBC after it oversaw a referendum proposed by the BBI, after which would be dissolved, a proposal that has been opposed by a section of MPs.
The referendum call is also confusing. It is instructive that Senators Orengo and Ngeri have termed the the IEBC Commission a criminal enterprise. But they have gone on to ask that this criminal enterprise should manage the referendum, following which it should be disbanded. This is a confusing bag of contradictions. How can a sane country trust a constitutional referendum with an entity it considers to be a criminal enterprise?
All right. Now, Iran has refuted claims that assassinated General Qasem Soleimani was planning attacks on Kenyan soil. The officials who condemned the pre-dawn U.S. air raid at Baghdad's international airport that led to the death of Iran General Qasem Soleimani, head of Iran's elite Revolutionary Guard Corps, said Iran was not involved in any terror attack on Kenya and the Americans should prepare for revenge.
Kenya found itself smack in the middle of the conflict after U.S. Vice President Mike Pence accused the slain general of having orchestrated an attack on Kenya in 2011, a notion that the Iranian embassy based in Kenya has refuted.
First of all, I want to send a message to all dear and admirable Kenyans. Veveni refikiango muzuri sana. Nabatakia wa Kenya maisha marifu. That's my clear message from Iranian people and government to Kenyan government and all the Kenyans. We are here to improve our long historic relation with the Kenya. And I'm really emphasized for that issue. There is no any relation between Iran and US tension and Kenya.
Pence accused the general of having directed Iran Revolutionary Guard Corps force to carry out terrorist plots to bomb innocent civilians in Turkey and Kenya in 2011. However, Kenyan authorities have not commented on Pence's claim about the alleged Soleimani involvement in terror activities in Kenya.
We have received a lot of sympathy for this really horrific attack towards Mr. General Qasem Soleimani from Kenyans. And Kenyans all the time during the history was our close and deep friends. And by the way, I want to clarify for you, even we have a right of retaliation and revenge toward this act of war, but in that time we divided.
Kenya has suffered several terror attacks in the past. None of the attacks, however, have been officially attributed to Iran. The Iran embassy in Nairobi has reiterated its government position that the U.S. government will bear full responsibility and consequences for assassinating Qasem Soleimani, who was coordinating clandestine military operation in Iraq and the larger Middle East. Soleimani was killed in a U.S. drone attack in Iraq at the weekend on orders of Donald Trump, who described him as the most dangerous person for leading covert attacks that targeted Americans and its forces in Iraq.
Now, the government has asked embattled lawyer Mbugua to obtain a valid Kenyan passport for him to be allowed back into the country. Meanwhile, the High Court had ordered the government to file a response on why it has not allowed Mbugua back in the country. The push and pull between the government and lawyer Mbugua seems to have no end, going by the current state of affairs. Government spokesperson Cyrus Oguna says Mbugua is free to enter Kenya once he gets his Kenyan passport, but added that the lawyer had not made any effort to visit a Kenyan commission to obtain one. Further, he says Mbugua was categorized as an unruly passenger following the incident of his deportation at JKIA in 2018. As a result, in accordance with the Annex 17 of the International Civil Aviation Authority, JKIA made recommendations that allow prohibition of unruly passengers. The High Court has questioned the government's defiance of letting Mbugua into the country, with different leaders also asking the government to let the embattled lawyer back into the country.
I don't want to say that the government has any right to deny him entry into Kenya, even if he says anything that he wants to say. If they think he has committed an offense, they can take him to court.
I understand now, Mbugua did not get a refund for his ticket. He has no money on him. In fact, I want to consult the family and we start a pay bill to at least buy food for him. You know, in the European capitals, you know it is winter there. The weather is not very good. So I want to tell Mr. President and the Right Honorable Prime Minister, please, think about the weather in Europe.
In a statement, Oguna said the government is aware of the High Court's ruling and is ready to comply. According to Oguna, the International Civil Aviation Authority requires that a passenger must have valid travel documents. Oguna denied claims that the government is frustrating Mbigua's efforts to jet back into the country. Mbugua was expected into the country on Tuesday night, but was barred from boarding his flight. Now, the row pitting embattled Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko and the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nuruddin Haji, is likely to get from bad to worse after the embattled governor accused Haji of sub judice. Now, the governor says the position that Sonko erred in his decision to pick a deputy is misguided.
In a letter to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, the embattled county chief maintains that he remains the governor of Nairobi with full trappings except access to his office. The letter goes ahead to say Sonko's bail terms as issued by Justice Ongoti did not bar him from performing functions that do not require him to access his office, and naming a deputy governor is one of those. Sonko has also turned the heat on the DPP, accusing him of going against stipulated bail terms that barred all parties, including the state, from discussing the case on social media. After a brief hiatus,
I wish to call upon the honorable members of the County Assembly and all members of staff of the Nairobi City County Government to continue doing their part in serving our residents.
The governor on Monday named Ann Kananu as his deputy, a matter that continues to raise public debate
as Nairobi leaders, and we want to state clearly,
with the section of Nairobi lawmakers supporting the move,
that in Nairobi there is no vacuum.
We want to say, as Nairobians, we appreciate that there is a county government, and that county government is the county government of Mike Sonko.
The matter is still pending in court, and the governor of Nairobi still remains the governor of Nairobi, as was instructed by the magistrate in court.
A position supported by the Council of Governors, which lauded Sonko for making the appointment and in effect averting a constitutional crisis at City Hall. Now, this coming just a day after the leadership of the city county seemingly watered down the move with plans to form a committee to discuss the nomination.
Of the deputy governor, it has a process. Therefore, before it even comes to the assembly, it has to go to the party, and the party has to give us a letter. If indeed, first of all, the governor is in line to appoint at this time when he's facing the charge.
Right now, the Boeing 737 belonging to Ukraine International Airlines that crashed near the airport and burst into flames had the highest number of Iranians on board. Now, this comes as the two countries are in deep diplomatic crisis, with the leaders throwing words at each other on Twitter.
At least 170 passengers died after a Ukrainian airliner crashed on Wednesday due to what has been termed as technical problem soon after taking off from Tehran's Imam Khamenei airport, according to state television. Iran's Red Crescent earlier said there was no chance of finding survivors. Earlier reports said there were 170 passengers on board on the plane. Among the victims were 82 Iranians, 63 Canadians, 11 Ukrainians, including all 9 crew members, 10 Swedes, 4 Afghans, 3 Britons and 3 Germans. The American aviation giant is still reeling from the aftermath of 2 737 MAX crashes, which killed 346 people. The crash takes place just days before the company's new CEO, David Calhoun, formally takes his job. Calhoun replaces Dennis Muilenburg, who was ousted in December after Boeing's disastrous year. The MAX has been grounded worldwide since March, and the company has struggled with delays and other issues in a bid to get the planes back in the air. Iran also fired more than a dozen rockets at 2 Iraqi military bases hosting U.S. troops, the Pentagon confirmed. The attack has seen the leaders of both countries throwing words at each other on Twitter. The rockets fired at the Ain al-Sad base in Anbar province and a base in Erbil early on Wednesday came amid escalating tensions between Washington and Tehran following the U.S. killing of Iranian military commander Qasem Soleimani in Iraq last week. Iran has pledged severe retaliation.
Now, moving on, Western leaders are at loggerheads over the January 18th LUHYA meeting planned by KOTU Secretary General Francis N. Atwoli and a section of ODM leaders alleged to have been fronted by ODM leader Raila Odinga. In a full glare of the media, Lugari Member of Parliament Ayub Savula clashed with his 10 counterparts here in Nairobi on whether to attend the meeting or not. Our reporter Jeff Hayemba with more details.
A political battle is looming on the 18th of January in the Western region, pitting the supporters of the KOTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli and those of the ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi, Ford Kenya party leader Moses Wetangula, and Jubilee leaders in the region. The members of the parliament from the ANC, Jubilee and Ford Kenya vowed not to attend the Atwoli organized meeting at the Bohongo Stadium in Kakamega, with claims it's an ODM affair.
As legislators from Western Kenya, we want to state very clearly that we do not know anything about the proposed meeting. We do not know where it was mooted and who the organizers are. Basic courtesy and common decency demands that if anyone is organizing a leaders' meeting in any part of the country, he or she must involve people's leaders in the legislature, the elected leaders.
Moments after the media briefing led by the Nambale Member of Parliament Sakwa Bunyasi, Lugari Member of the Parliament Ayub Savula, who had boycotted the meeting, returned with gusto slamming his 10 counterparts for rallying the Western residents not to attend the meeting.
If my people are being mobilized to go and attend a BBI meeting, I'll be there.
Because we have been called here as leaders. He was here with other leaders who have been on this table. He ran away. Now he has come back alone to talk of just differently alone as somebody from Western. This is a wrong leader. And we are not going to accept leaders like this.
We are not going to remove Musalia as a kingpin in Western. We are not going to discuss Wetangula. As a matter of fact, this is a meeting that has been convened for BBI.
Francis Atwoli, before Christmas, held a series of meetings at his home, a meeting attended by the ODM leader Raila Odinga. But the presence of Raila Odinga in the meeting has brought about mixed reactions among the Western leaders led by Bungoma Senator Moses Wetangula and the NC party leader Musalia Mudavadi. The event at Bohongo Stadium is organized by the Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya and by extension Raila Odinga, targeting at least 35,000 participants to come from all the LUHYA-dominated counties.
We did not know where Mr. Atwoli derives the mandate to speak for the people of Western when they have elected leaders. We know Mr. Atwoli to be Court Secretary General. We understand him when he speaks about industrial issues. He loses us, however, when he goes beyond that mandate.
BBI is a national issue. I understand politics better. In Western Province, I got 46,000 votes. That was the highest. But him, he got 11,000. So who is senior here? I speak volume in terms of the popularity of Western. And I said very well, I'm attending the...
The meeting by Atwoli comes after the same court boss installed Musalia Mudavadi as the LUHYA spokesperson.
We propose that the 18th meeting be postponed until an elected leaders meeting is held under
people who are...
I'm attending from Lugari. You are in Ruto camp, me, I don't care, me, I'm Musalia camp.
Yeah.
Tini Mwale Karibu.
These are wrong leaders, members of the press, because if we have leaders like Sabula, these are just like conmen.
The Western leaders are blamed for not raising concerns over the poor local economy, with Webuye pan paper mills and cotton and lint industries having collapsed, and Mumia sugar company in the ICU, and the decline of the maize and the livestock farming in the region.
Can come back and try to talk about what we have decided as a team. What we have decided as Western leaders, the statement that was read is what we are supporting. And therefore, any other divergent view that comes from any other leader, you should take it as a personal position and not the position of Western leaders.
Reporting for Ebru TV, I'm Jeff Khaemba.
All right, away from politics now to matters education. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha has emphasized the need for MPs to ensure needy students are supported to pursue their dreams in institutions of learning through the funds allocated under the National Government Constituency Development Fund, that is the NGCDF. Now, the CS also warned school heads against inflating the fees recommended by the government, saying such would attract a serious penalty.
Among 38,000 students who applied for the Elimu scholarship program, only 9,000 students were successful. Magoha said it was disheartening that some intelligent children were being denied a chance to further their studies due to lack of school fees. Following that, he underscored the need to give chances to those who are not only performing well, but to the deserving.
Why don't you share the little you have with somebody who doesn't have? This is actually the clarion call to my honorable members of parliament who are doing a very good job, but that perhaps they should look at CDF by putting the denominator as the needy child. Neediness should come first, second to performance.
His sentiments were echoed by Education Principal Secretary Belio Kipsang, who stated that the program targets those who cannot afford fees in secondary schools. Kipsang challenged parents and guardians who can afford to do their part in ensuring their children go to the next level of education.
Those who merit and can afford should be able to access while meeting the cost. And that is why this is a targeted program. It is targeting those who cannot afford, because those of us who can afford should be able to meet our cost in ensuring that our children go to the next level of learning.
Magoha warned school manager against increasing fees, urging them to instead use the capitation money provided to enhance the attainment of 100% transition, improve learning environment, and ensure the right to education is achieved.
Any child that presents him or herself to your school with a letter, take the child first. enroll the child, and then engage us. I think that message should be very clear. Don't send a child to go and say, oh, this one has come with only 20% of the money.
National Assembly Education Committee Chairperson Julius Meli urged the CS to provide lab equipment to schools, further challenging the ministry to ensure timely disbursement of capitation of funds to schools.
If the mentorship of this program will continue, this group is going to have a serious effect on the performance of basic education in this country in the next 4 years.
Magoha also underscored the need for the harmonization of bursaries, citing duplication which results in a lack of coordination. The CS emphasized on the need for proper structures to be put in place to address the challenge.
Ruth was talking about where education is still not doing very well. The government has provided 8.2 billion. Some of these counties include Kwale, Kilifi, Turkana, Samburu, and many others.
He, however, congratulated all the scholarship beneficiaries and urged them to take the opportunity accorded to them seriously. Busara Naman for Ebru TV.
Now, health services at public hospitals in Mombasa County were paralyzed for the better part of the day after doctors and nurses staged a go-slow demanding remittance of December salary arrears by the county government. Now, the health practitioners have issued a fresh strike notice should the Mombasa County government fail to remit pending salary arrears by 15th of January. Our reporter Winnie Lubembe tells us more.
Mombasa County leadership vacuum wars deepened today with the health sector players and public bearing the brunt of poor health services. Over 700 health officers drawn from the nurses, clinical officers, laboratory officers and pharmacists announced that come January 15th they will completely down their tools demanding pending December salary arrears. Through their respective unions comprised of the Kenya National Union of Nurses and Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, KMPDU, the health practitioners are demanding
we can no longer afford to let Kenyans suffer because monies for salaries are there, but people feel like that money belongs to them in the counties. That is something we will not accept. Na kutoka hapa, from here today you've heard, there are deep-seated issues in this county beyond the salary delays. Yes.
Kenya National Union of Nurses Mombasa Branch Secretary Peter Maroko says Mombasa County has not shown indication of remitting December salaries for all health practitioners, putting lives of many patients at risk.
Ilipofika hapo, kwa vile wafanyikazi walikuwa hawana namna nyingine ya kuweza kuendelea kupata nauri na kuwajibika kwa majukumu ambayo wako nayo huko nyumbani, ikawa ni lazima leo tukue na salary parade ili kusurutisha serikali ya Mombasa County iweze kuachilia ule mshahara ambao hawajaweza kulipa wa mwezi wa Disemba. Na hii salary parade itaweza kuendelea kwa muda ambao mpaka kwa wakati ule ambao serikali itaweza kulipa mshahara.
He has noted that some 343 new members who joined the union recently have not received the salaries of the last 3 months. Morocco also accused the county for making tax deductions for employees and failing to remit it at the Kenya Revenue Authority. Over 700 officers have been affected, among them 55 doctors, 50 clinical officers, 40 laboratory officers, and 50 pharmacists. Mombasa County attributes the problem to delays on disbursement of county allocation from Treasury. Currently, the county government is operating without county executive committee members whose contracts expired on November 12, 2019.
We've seen very bad industrial actions in this country, but every time these actions come out is because of the injustice meted on workers. So because of that, it has been declared in this meeting today by all these workers that they will boycott work until salaries are paid. Yes! Without that, there'll be no work.
Yes! For now, patients will have to bear the brunt until the stalemate is resolved. Winnie Lubembe for Ebru TV.
Well, thank you, Winnie, for that report. Now, moving on, a standard 8 pupil was pronounced dead on arrival at hospital after he was allegedly stabbed by his classmate at Randani Primary School in Kenyenya, Sub-County, Kisii County. Police in Kenyenya, led by the Sub-County Police Commander Philip Oyugi, have since launched investigations into the death. Elsewhere, 4 suspected thugs have been killed by police in Eldoret after a shootout within the town, with the police in the town. Now, the 4 were killed after they were accused of planning to commit crime in the town.
Residents are still in shock over the incident in which the life of a pupil was lost. Police Commander Philip Oyugi said that the 2 minors, both aged 13 years, were playing as they were slashing long grass in school grounds after opening school when one of them threw his slasher, stabbing his friend on the right thigh.
Walimu wakatoka hivi wakawaambia enda madarasani. Walimuacha hapo kwa kiwanja. Damu ilimwagika nyingi, ilichukua muda wa masaa kama 2 masaa mawili na. Sasa tukapata habari ya kwamba huyu mtoto amechukuliwa magena na Good Samaritan. Tunaomba serikali ichukue mkondo wake, haki ya mtoto itendeke.
Oyugi added that the deceased consequently bled to death after he was left lying at the scene of incident for long as teachers were held up in the staff meeting.
Hao watoto walikuwa wanacheza na panga na Gusire alikuwa anapita. Huyu mtoto mmoja kurusa panga ndiye kaende katunga huyu Gusire kwa mguu. Gusire akaanguka chini na ile panga. Akafuruta ile panga mwenyewe. Bila alifuruta ile panga akasema nimekufa. Kaanguka kabisa, kawacha kuongea. Damu ikaanza kumwagika nyingi.
Parents to the deceased Simon Obare and Miriam Kerubo have also recorded statement with the investigative officers. An aunt to the deceased, Gladys Ondara, said her nephew showed up for lunch on Monday before he left for school in the afternoon with a panga. Stanley Nyabuto, a neighbor to the deceased, accused the school administration for delaying to ferry the deceased to hospital for treatment even after being informed of the incident. Police in Kenyanya, led by the Sub-County Police Commander Philip Oyugi, have since launched investigations into the death. The body was moved to Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital mortuary, awaiting burial preparations. Elsewhere, a 14-year-old girl committed suicide in Mikindani after she was forced to repeat Class 6. The girl was a student at Amani in Jomvu constituency. Elsewhere, 4 suspected thugs have been killed in Eldoret after a shootout with the police in the town. The 4 were killed after they were accused of allegedly planning to commit crime in the town. Area Police Commander Johnston Ipara said the suspected thugs were killed after they defied police orders to surrender.
Hii nini yenye imetokea leo imetushangaza sana. Vinini utovu ya usalama imekuwa chini kabisa hapa West kwetu. Hata mimi juzi nimeibiwa simu hapa tu.
Na leo walipopatikana asubuhi mwendo wa saa 2 walisimamishwa na maofisa wetu waliokuwa wanapiga doria katika barabara hiyo. Wakakataa kusimama. Na walichofanya waliweza kupiga risasi kwa askari wetu.
Abdiaziz Ebru TV.
Now, Treasury has released a total of 14.5 billion shillings to 24 counties after the Council of Governors decried of lack of funds in the devolved units. Now, the ministry further pointed out that 15 counties have cleared their pending bills, and they are Baringo, Elgeyo Marakwet, Embu, Homa Bay, Kajiado, Kericho, Kilifi, Kitui, Kwale, Laikipia, Makueni, Nyamira, Nyandarua, Nyeri, and Uasin Gishu. Only 9 counties have submitted clear, acceptable, eligible pending bills plans. Now, in our international front, parents are opting to use Gab Wireless, a new phone that is just meant for kids with no internet access and no app store. Take a look.
I've wanted one probably for, I don't know, as long as I could think.
Getting a first cell phone is a rite of passage for many kids around the world, a taste of independence.
when the bell rings to go home, literally everyone takes out their phones and they're just like staring down at it.
But a new phone brings risks that parents agonize about: too much screen time and online predators. When she discovered one of her daughters was being targeted by an adult man on a social media platform designed for kids, Alani Parker was outraged.
And it was so scary because I just had no idea who really was there and who really was she talking to.
Parker did not want her kids to have smartphones, but she wanted the ability to be in touch with them.
Then we heard about Gab Wireless.
Gab Wireless is a new cellular network created just for kids. The starter phone looks just like a smartphone, but without internet. Kids can make voice calls and send text. It has a camera, calculator, calendar, and a clock with an alarm. No social networking, no videos.
The average high school student now is coming home with already almost 5 hours of screen time consumption before they get home from school. We've created devices that really are advocates of living life outside of the screen.
The Parker girls celebrated their new phones. Friends, however, not so much.
When I told some of my friends about my phone, they were like, wow, that's just really basic. Your mom must be mean. But I know she's all just doing it to protect me and she loves me.
Keeping connected to the kids while unplugging them from outside distractions and threats. Dina Mitchell for VOA News, Oakley, California.
All right, on that note, we take a very short break, but we'll be bringing you more news in the business world. Stay with us. Right, we are officially open for business. Now, the government has published fresh rules restricting advertisement hours by betting firms in a signal of yet another tough ride for sector players this year after Talmatus 2019. Now, the Betting Licensing and Control Board has published all TV betting adverts to the hours between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. during school days. Betting firms will, however, be allowed to promote their community uplifting projects between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. and to educate the public on responsible betting between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. Adverts during school holidays and Saturdays will be allowed between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m., while on Sundays, the betting firms will only advertise between 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. in strict measures aimed at protecting children from the addictive practice. The new rules come months after the High Court thwarted a similar attempt to restrict advertising hours, saying the regulations published last year were unfair, tainted with illegality. Now, the government plans to lend cash to coffee farmers in a bid to revive the sector that was once a leading foreign exchange earner, but is now in the decline. Now, the Ministry of Industrialization is setting up a 3 billion shillings fund that will advance cheap credit to small-scale coffee farmers with the aim of boosting production and quality of the crop.
The Coffee Cherry Advance Revolving Fund will give loans at a rate of 3% to farmers affiliated to various cooperatives, including the Kenya Planters Cooperative Union. The amount that each farmer can access will depend on the amount of coffee that they will produce. The ministry has recently published the draft regulations that are expected to set up the fund, and it is currently seeking input from the public. It is said the regulations will enable it to start advancing the money to farmers from the revolving kitty. The government informs all stakeholders in the coffee subsector and members of the public in general that the rules and regulations required to govern the 3 billion Cherry Advance Revolving Fund have now been approved by Cabinet and published in Kenya Gazette. Members are thus invited to submit written comments and feedback by January 15, 2020. These regulations, which are a key requirement under the Public Finance Management Act, will now pave way for the rollout of the funds. Farmers will need to be members of the cooperative societies to access the money.
Now, Safaricom is investigating complaints from several subscribers that fraudsters attempted to con them of funds from their mobile accounts using the company's official customer care number. Subscribers took to social media with complaints of receiving voice calls, with the callers claiming to be customer care agents from Safaricom and even confirming personal details such as M-Pesa transactions history.
The 0722000000 is one of the phone numbers the company uses to communicate officially with subscribers, and the case has raised concerns of insider fraud, with Safaricom saying investigations are underway.
So I got the call on Thursday, and the man who was on the phone, he asked me to confirm my ID number. He gave me my full names. He knew all my names before. And so that's what made me think that they were Safaricom. And then after that, he started asking questions about your last M-Pesa transaction, the amount of credit you have left. And what made me raise my eyebrows and question whether they were being led genuine was when he asked me if I've registered for any loan services like KCB M-Pesa, if I've tied my M-Pesa to equity and stuff like that. And I knew that that was a little bit fraudulent, so I stopped answering questions. Then luckily, I hadn't given out any of my PINs, but I'd already confirmed to him my ID number, my M-Pesa balance. He asked me whether I have M-Shwari or not. Another thing that made me believe that they were Safaricom, they sent me a message with the Safaricom contact.
Subscribers have complained that fraudsters attempt to con them from funds from their mobile accounts using the company's official customer care number. They took to social media with complaints of receiving voice calls through the number, with the callers claiming to be customer care agents from Safaricom and even confirming personal details such as M-Pesa transaction history. The incident has raised concerns over the company's exposure to fraudsters and the safety of subscribers' personal data on the successful M-Pesa platform.
I made the call to 100 to Safaricom. They said that they are not doing anything like that. And so I went to the Safaricom shop near me and changed my pins and stuff like that.
Last month, a subscriber filed a class action suit against Safaricom, the Central Bank of Kenya and Communication Authority of Kenya over outages experienced on the M-Pesa network. Martin Mururi claimed Safaricom failed on several occasions to maintain full uptime on its M-Pesa network against its license conditions and failed to give a satisfactory explanation for the downtime. This came just 2 months after another lawsuit filed at the High Court against Safaricom by a subscriber who claimed his personal details and those of millions of subscribers have been leaked to a third party. Njeri Njogu for Ebru TV.
Now, the Nairobi Securities Exchange has outperformed its peers in Africa on the back of better returns from Safaricom and banking stocks that were attractive to foreign investors. NSE's All-Share Index, which tracks the market value of shares of all listed firms, gained 18.5% to close the year at 166.41 points.
Last year's performance was in contrast to 2018, when Nairobi's all-share index fell by 18%, a bigger decline compared to the four bourses that also posted negative returns in the year. As a result, the bourse raced ahead of Johannesburg Stock Exchange, which returned 8.24% last year, and Morocco's Casablanca Stock Exchange at 7.72%. Nigeria's and the Egyptian bourses declined by 14.6% and 19% respectively. The reversal in fortunes made the Kenyan bourse attractive to foreign investors seeking capital gains returns. NSC Chief Executive Geoffrey Odundo says the stable shilling had added to the attractiveness of the bourse, with investors seeking lower currency fluctuation risk relative to other emerging markets. He notes, and I quote, "The fact that it outperformed other key markets means investors are more comfortable with main metrics such as stability of currency and free entry and exit of funds," end of quote. Foreign investors at the NSC made net inflows of 1.86 billion shillings in 2019. This was in contrast with back-to-back net selling of 28.9 billion shillings and 11.9 billion shillings in 2018 and 2017 respectively. Despite the gains, the NSE remains relatively smaller compared to the South African, Nigerian and Egyptian bourses. The JSE, for instance, has a market capitalization of 25.5 trillion shillings from the 375 firms listed on the South Africa bourse. The NSE has 62 firms with a market value of 2.5 trillion shillings, while Nigeria has 116 firms valued at 3.73 trillion shillings, while Egypt is at 4.23 trillion shillings. The Nairobi bourse made a paper wealth return of 16% or 399 billion shillings to hit 2.5 trillion shillings. This positive return was on the back of Safaricom and bank stocks, which account for nearly 80% of the bourse's market value. Winnie Lubembe for Ebru TV.
All right, time for us to take a look at the world of sports. Now, Moi International Sports Complex, Kasarani, will be closed in March to pave way for thorough renovations ahead of the upcoming World Under-20 Championships set for July 7th to 12th. And as our reporter Benjamin Mwaka exclusively reports, the team that will represent the county in the Global Bonanza will be selected in May.
Is something very, very special.
Having bid to stage the Under-20 Championship back in 2018, Kenya is yet to meet some targets in a bid to deliver a world-class event. The head of the Youth Development Project in Athletics Kenya, Barnaba Koril, has confirmed that there is still a lot of work that needs massive fast-tracking.
If we were to say that we are hosting this event in 2 months, I'll tell you that we have not been able to host that event in 2 months. Currently, I would say maybe we are 30% ready for the event. It requires a lot of work, proper coordination, and support from the government and also the local organizing committee, and mainly that Athletics Kenya requires maximum support from all the quarters to have an event.
AK received a last-minute boost from the government in December 2019, having failed to get the same to set up youth camps across the country since the famous 2017 Under-18 World Championships held in Nairobi. The federation has since moved swiftly to set up 14 camps to nurture talents ahead of the global tourney.
And we have those athletes. We tested them. Most of them are very good athletes. The only weak point is when it comes now to the field events and also the sprints, that they require technical assistance, and that is where our weak point is. But the rest, we are going to do everything possible to make sure that our team does well. We have few months remaining. We will go to every length to ensure our athletes win the medals. If, for whatever reason, there were quite a few people who turned up at the stadium, it would have been a flop. Therefore, we still need support from the Kenyans so that we can push now those who are concerned to organize this event in a way that is beneficial.
The camps will help to provide best opportunity to identify new talents who will be nurtured for the next generation. But before that, Kenya will be seeking to retain the overall title after bagging a total of 11 medals in the 2018 edition held in Finland.
We want to look World Championship next year. We want to look Olympics in Paris. We want to look at 2025 in World Championship if it comes to Kenya. So we want to have programs that give us maybe 5 to 10 years ahead.
After successfully hosting the World Under-17 Championships in 2017 here in Nairobi, Athletics Kenya, Nairobi City County Government and the national government are currently working together to make sure the July World Under-20 Championships remain a success.
Majority of athletes set to compete for a place in the Team Kenya include the 2017 World Under-18 graduates and 2018 World Under-18 Global Winners graduates. Team pre-selection is set for April, with final trials also in pipeline at the end of May.
And it will be something like 56 athletes that will compete. That 56 athletes we will put now in a particular camp for 1 month for proper training. The stadium has to be renovated. They are going to close it in March, and hopefully that will allow the chance to make sure that it is workable, it can be used.
Benjamin Mwaka, Ebru TV Sports.
Now, Athletics Kenya has revealed that Kenya's marathon team to the Tokyo Olympic Games will be picked before 20th of January as Kenya eyes to retain its titles at the Olympic Games. Now, Athletics Kenya says early election will allow ample time for the athletes picked to focus on preparations in the 2016 Rio Games. Eliud Kipchoge bagged victory in men's race, while Jemima Samgong, who has been banned for doping, led in the medals chase. In women's categories, Kenyan selectors are spoiled for choice in the marathon with world record holders Eliud Kipchoge and Bridget Kosgei almost sure bets.
The president is going to tell us exact date where we are going to, when we are going to have, but specifically it's going to be this month, and it's not going to be beyond 20th of this month. So we are going to name, and you'll see the people who are going to be in the marathon. We have so many, the best of the best. But of course now the technical bench will sit down and analyze every individual, not only about the time, but also the mind, where they competed, and of course they have also competitions that we have to weigh someone's mental capacity to withstand certain conditions like the weather and everything. So those are going to be considered before the team is named, and I can promise you that the team that will be named will be a team that will be appreciated by the Kenyans, because those are the things that we want to make sure that we win this marathon in Tokyo, at least both men and women, get more medals. If we can sweep everything, that is fine.